This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Many people, they go a whole lifetime, they never zeicha to be at the Kever of Nachman of Breslov. I don't think if I ever thought I would be zeicha to be here, and many of you have expressed the same perspective. Who would have thought we'd be zeicha to be here by the Kever of Nachman? So I'm going to share with you a few things that struck me personally about Rabbi Nachman. I was reading in the Shivchei Haran that all the madrigas of Rabbi Nachman, nothing came easy to him. Everything he had to cry for. Every little madriga he was zeicha to, he had to be yorei demois, whether it's learning Chumash, whether it's learning Mishnah, whether every single madriga working on different inyanim whether it's taiva. Rabbi Nachman cried bitter tears, and it's very interesting that Rabbi Nachman almost insisted from the Rebbeinu Shem, like he had a fight. He had to force the Rebbeinu Shem. I have to have this madriga. I have to have this madriga. So it's interesting. Rabbi Nachman's father, Rabbeinu Simcha, was the son of Rabbi Nachman Meher Danka, one of the original Talmidim of the Baal Shem. His mother Fega was the daughter of Udal. Udal was the daughter of the Baal Shem. So his mother was the granddaughter of the Baal Shem. So Udal, a very interesting name. Udal. What kind of Udal? Udal is a Rosh Tevas. Udal is Eish Das Lamai. That's the Baal Shem named her, like a fiery fire. That's where her name comes from. So Reb Nachman, he was born on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the first day of creation. Reb Nachman was born in Mezhbej. So very interesting. Even as a young child, he said he never involved himself in the pleasure of this world. His father used to pay a malamed to learn with him, but he paid the malamed extra money from his own pocket. He paid him 3 extra coins for every black Gemara that the malamed would teach him extra. From the age of 6, the Reb Nachman would go every night to the grave of the Baal Shem and cry at the grave of the Baal Shem every single night, and then be toivel in the morning, from the age of 6 years old. At 13 years old, he's already showing sight. He got married to Sasha, the daughter of Rabbi Ephraim. Then he moved to Hasatan. So now we're going to fast forward, and to me this was one of my favorite parts. We're going to fast forward to the year 1798. As we know, Rabbi Nachman was born in 1772, and Rabbi Nachman surprisingly only lived 39 years.
37.
What? Some I've seen 38, but by most it's 39 years. We're going to fast forward to the year 1798. Now this is a fascinating historical episode. 1798. Napoleon decides he's going to embark from France on a mission of conquest. Now the Ottoman Empire of Turkey was reeling at the time, so Palestine was under Ottoman control. They were reeling because part of the Crimean Peninsula was lost to the Ottoman Empire, to Russia in 1791. Internally in Turkey there were riots, there was dissatisfaction, so Napoleon figured Turkey is unraveling, so now is his time to embark and to jump on the possibility of conquering Palestine. So Napoleon is heading toward Palestine. He longed to add Jerusalem to the list of his world conquest. And when he gets to Palestine, he's trying to rile up the Muslims to fight against Turkey. Napoleon told the Muslims that he and his army would convert to Islam if they would agree to help him fight off and ward off the Ottoman Empire. Now the Egyptians at least were smart enough to realize that Napoleon was not sincere about that offer. 1799, Napoleon invades Palestine. And he meets fierce military opposition from the Turkish governor. His name was Jezim Pasha, who, by the way, was tortured at times by the emperor in Turkey. So the governor of Turkey had a Jewish advisor, Chaim Parchi, and Chaim Parchi encouraged the Ottomans for a spirited defense of Jerusalem and Israel, because the Sephardim in Israel were very different than the Ashkenazim. The Ashkenazim were never trusted the local government, but the Sephardim were treated decently by the local government, so they showed and displayed a loyalty to the local government. Now, who was the leader of Klal Yisrael in Yerushalayim at the time? Rav Yom Tov Al-Ghazi. And Rav Yom Tov Al-Ghazi's Bezdin got up a rabbim, and they prayed that Napoleon should have a downfall. You'll see where I'm going with this. Napoleon comes to Jerusalem. He's smart, he fears the forbidding walls of Jerusalem, and he turns west. So again, Napoleon's coming, perfect. Napoleon's coming from France. He's coming through Egypt. Listen to this. Shlomi, he's coming through Egypt. Napoleon's coming. He comes to Shalayim in the north, and he has second thoughts. He wanted to conquer Jerusalem. He turns west. He's going up the coast. He comes to Jaffa. He conquers Jaffa. He massacred 4,000 defenders in Jaffa. You'll see where I'm going with this. He's coming up to the sea coast, and at the sea coast, he's at the city of Acre. It's Parsha Zachar, 1799. Napoleon begins the siege of Acre, Erev Shabbos, 1799. What does this got to do with anything? Who is in Acre that Shabbos? Reb Nachman had an unquenchable love for Eretz Yisrael. And on the 18th of Iyar, 1798, Reb Nachman went to Eretz Yisrael. And on that Friday that Napoleon was about to conquer Acre, Reb Nachman was in Acre for Shabbos. Reb Nachman, b'moifsim, sneaks out of Acre. He curses Napoleon. Napoleon mysteriously cannot conquer Acre. It's a Pele. He was able to conquer other cities. He cannot conquer Acre. He turns back and he withdraws from the Middle East. So the whole world history shifted because Rabbi Nachman happened to be in Shabbos. The Shabbos and the world would have looked different had Rabbi Nachman not been in Eretz Yisrael that Shabbos. Okay, so back to Rabbi Nachman. 1800, Rabbi Nachman moved to Zlatopol. Who's in Zlatopol? The Shpoiler Zayda. Shpoiler Zayda and Rabbi Nachman. We're not going to discuss it now. Okay. 1802, Rabbi Nachman moved to Breslov, which is now called Breslov. When Rav Nachman comes to Breslov, Rav Nachman says, today we've planted the name of Breslover Hasidim forever and ever. The name will never disappear. In Breslov, Rav Nachman meets Rav Nosson. Rav Nosson was Rav Nosson Steinhartz. He's 22 years old. Rav Nosson comes from Nemerov, 8 miles north of Breslov. Over the next 8 years, Rav Nosson becomes the foremost disciple and scribe of Rav Nachman. All the teachings of Rav Nachman, Shivchei Aran, Sipur Maisias, all the other Ksavim all come from Rav Nosson. Now, Rav Nachman had somewhat of a tragic personal family history. Rav Nachman had 8 children. 2 daughters died in infancy. He had 2 sons. They both died within age 1.5. So Nachman has 4 surviving children: Adel, Sarah, Miriam, Chaya, 4 daughters. 1807, Rav Nachman is 35 years old. His wife succumbs to tuberculosis. Erev Shavuos, she's buried in Zaslav right before Yom Tov. Rav Nachman gets engaged the very next month. Right after the engagement, Rav Nachman himself comes down with tuberculosis. Now, years before, Rav Nachman was passing through the city of Uman. In other words, what's Rav Nachman doing in Uman? He was never a Rav in Uman. He didn't have anything in Uman. Years before, he was invited to Uman. Somehow, secular Jews in Uman invited Rav Nachman. They wanted to feed him. They wanted to take care of him. And what did Rav Nachman say? Rav Nachman said, you know what? This is a good place to be buried. That's all he said. Now, why did he want to be buried here? So we have with us my good Yedid, Reb Daniel, is an emistika chassid, And Reb Nachman wanted to be buried here because the tradition is that either 2,000 or 20,000 or maybe more Jews who are martyrs in a massacre of Haidamak, they were killed and they were buried in the city. And Reb Nachman felt that these Kedoshei Elyon who died al Kiddush Hashem, they're buried here. That's why he wanted to be buried in the city. So we all know, you probably know better than I, Reb Nachman stressed the importance of extemporaneous tefillah, which means aside for was geschrieben in the Siddur, the formulated tefillah, Reb Nachman held that a very big ikar in Avodas Hashem is for a person to speak to the Rebbe Hashem with their own expression and their own language, min halev, extemporaneous, not a formula, not a precise formula. And the best place to do it is in nature, without any distractions, without anything to disturb a person. As we mentioned, Rav Nachman fought for every madrega that he reached. Every madrega, he cried, he wailed, he was mispalel. So if I could share with you, before we get to the Soif, Rav Nachman has a beautiful Dvar Torah in the Kutei Maran. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to tell you what ois it's in. It's, I believe, ois ratio test. See if we can find it. Rav Nachman says like this: Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to Har Sinai to Mekabel the Luchos. Chazal tell us that if Moshe did not break the luchos, the Torah would never have been forgotten. So by breaking the luchos, Moshe brought what to the world? Shikha came to the world. So this month, the month of Tammuz, is the month of trying to remember Limudat Torah, because the month that brought Shikha to the world. So Tammuz, says Rav Nachman, is Rosh Tevos, Zichru, Toras, Moshe. Remember the Torah of Moshe. Furthermore, Moshe Rabbeinu came down with the Torah. So really it's the time that Moshe wanted to give the Torah to Klal Yisrael. So what else is Tammuz? It's Zman, Matan, Torah Seinu. So Rav Nachman asks, but wait a second, Tammuz has a Vav in it. What happened to the Vav? So now I said, well, but Moshe took the Luchos. The measurements of the Luchos were Vav by Vav. He broke the Luchos. So the Vav disappeared. So Tammuz, which has the Vav, we take the Vav out when we do the Rosh Hashanah. Nebuch, Rav Nachman also succumbed to tuberculosis, according to this account, at the age of 38, the 4th day of Sukkot, and was buried over here. Now Rav Nachman had 3 times a year that the Hasidim used to come primarily, different than other rabbis. Rosh Hashanah, Chanukah, and Shavuos. And that's when he gave his formal teachings. And we know, on the last Rosh Hashanah of his life, Rav Nachman stressed the importance of coming to him on Rosh Hashanah. And in 1810, for some reason Rav Nosson wasn't there, Rav Nachman told 2 of his Hasidim, Rav Aaron of Breslov and Rav Naftali of Nemerov, he says like this, that if somebody comes to my grave and he gives a coin to tzedakah and he says these specific 10 Tehillim, and what are the 10 Tehillim? Number 16, 32, 41, 42, 59, 77, 90, 105, 137, 150, Gematria 749, then this will be Masakein all of one's Chatam, specifically Tikkun Abris. Specifically, if one was Moitzi Zer Levatala, and this is the legacy of Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman lived a very short life, but as he says, the fire within him will burn until the Bias Goyal, until Mashiach Tzidkenu. So we should be zocheh that all the tefillah should be niskabel. Bezos Hashem will do maybe a limud in the park later for a few minutes, and we'll continue on the bus. Shkayach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.